I remember the very first one was October of 2009. I don't remember what it was, but there was a vulnerability that affected core, yeah, that was the first time I had experienced it as a Microsoft employee, and I was blown away at how seriously that they took the whole thing. So that was on Server 2008. Maybe it was October 2008. No, it must have been October 2009. I remember it was October because I was in Texas at the time. I was at a class out there. Where am I at? Okay, no, there was actually a question on this. Keep the parent in a domain. Okay, so Kerberos is more secure than MTLM. So you don't want to have a domain controller on your hypervisor, but from a security standpoint, if you want the most secure hypervisor and parent, absolutely join it to the domain. Because now you're communicating via Kerberos instead of MTLM, right? So put it in a domain. Delegate administration, parent administrator equals power over everything. So whenever you do delegation, you don't want to do, okay, you have access to the box, go do whatever you want to do. You don't have to do that. You can do delegation. I've got a link here. I've used a bit.ly, so you don't have to type in this really long thing. But I did a blog post on this. Can be done with Inbox Tools or with System Center's Virtual Machine Manager. That link will get you to my blog post on step-by-step how to do that delegate administration. Guest determines parent security. Okay, this is not so easy to understand, so let me explain it a little bit. Low security VMs can run on a high security parent. High security VMs cannot run on a low security parent. What does that mean? All right, let me put it in these terms. Let's say that I want to use, what is a firewall? It's just a computer, right? It's a computer that generally has a lot of network ports. Would you run your firewall on a parent? Everybody, would you run your firewall on a parent partition?
No, it's going to be separate.
No. Would you run your firewall, next question, would you run your firewall on a guest?
Local firewall.
Maybe. Some yes, some no. Well, it depends. The thing is, if you do run your firewall on a guest, you want to make sure that your parent is pretty secure too. Because otherwise, what's the point of having the firewall on the guest?
Yeah.
Right? Because if you have a low security parent or a parent that like you're using for your web surfing because you like extra power, and you have a firewall on the VM on that guest, well, what's the point, pal? Why even have a firewall? Right? You get the point. So the low security VMs can run on a high security parent. In other words, VMs that you don't trust can run on a parent. It's high security. That's okay. But a high security VM cannot run on a low security parent or a parent that you're doing. Hopefully you don't have any. Who's going to run low security parents after this discussion? No hands. Good. I'm doing my job. So we've talked about protecting the parent. Now let's talk about protecting the virtual machines. Okay, so don't mess up the ACLs. Virtual machine files are all protected by ACLs. Access control lists. That's what an ACL is, access control lists. So you have the XMLs, the BINs, the VSVs, the VHDs, the AVHDs. ACLs are created by Hyper-V. Whenever you create the machine or whenever you move a machine to a host, that's when the ACLs are created. So if you muck with those, obviously you're mucking with the security. So don't mess with the ACLs, and you'll have a more secure box. Obviously, if you go in there and you say, oh well, I want to access this VHD from my workstation, so I'm just going to share that folder out, and I'm going to set everybody, put everyone full control over the folder from on the security tab of the host. And then I'm going to share it out, and I'm going to make it shareable, read and write to everybody. That's mucking with the ACLs, and what have you just done to your security on that box? It's gone. There is no security on that box. Okay? So that's what this slide means. Enable file auditing. Okay? So again, this goes back to watching your systems, and you don't necessarily see. You do have a mechanism for monitoring when files change on a system, so you can use that auditing and that audit tracking to see when things are going on. So if you've got somebody mucking with the files, then you have an audit trail turned on, then you have you have more confidence that the system that you have in place is a secure system. Okay. Oh boy, I guess I better plug in, huh? Can I do it fast enough? Actually, this new laptop is really good because the last time I did this, it took me like 4 or 5 minutes to find my power cord, and it still held up. So I think I'm in good shape.
Oh, you have 7%.
7%. But you know what? On a laptop that's not brand new, 7% goes really fast.
Oh, yeah.
So it's always a tough thing. So let's look at protecting the guest operating system. It's best to make guests feel welcome. Okay? Firewalls and antivirus. Protect guest operating systems just like physical computers. It's not magic, right? Just because you virtualize a machine doesn't mean that all the same rules about servers or that machine go away. It's just another machine. You have to protect it like you do any physical machine. Okay? You have some better tools for managing it, yes. You have some other advantages from portability and stuff like that, but it's just another machine. You have to protect it. No shortcuts. Patch, patch, patch. Again, we're talking about the guest operating system here. No different than the parent operating system. Other than the fact that I'll throw out there, set up WSUS or System Center Configuration Manager, potentially, our virtual machine's not connected to the internet. If they're not, certainly you can use WSUS to patch those machines anyway. And our virtual machine is left offline for long periods of time. There's an offline virtual machine patching tool, servicing tool that allows you to do that. In fact, I did a blog post and a video on DISM, which is an offline patching, an offline management tool to allow you to do stuff like that, add things into a machine. But there's other tools as well. There's graphic consults out there as well. So you definitely want to keep those patches, even if they're offline. Why do I care? If it's offline, who cares? Why do I care? Anybody?
Well, when you go online.
There you go. Eventually, that's probably going to be spun up. And if it's not, why is it on disk? It needs to be on tape, right? So yeah, patch those machines. Develop a strategy. Remember, this is not necessarily. You don't really need to do anything to run a Hyper-V machine, right? You guys know that Hyper-V host is really easy to run. You install the rule. How long does it take to install the rule? Anybody? How long does it take to install the Hyper-V rule? A minute? A minute and a half?
If you take it the reboot.
If you take the reboot, maybe it takes a few minutes depending on your hardware, right? Okay? Because some RAID controllers can take 10 minutes to boot up, depending on what you got on. But yeah, sure, it doesn't take very long. The actual install takes a minute and a half, maybe. So getting Hyper-V to run is really, 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 really easy. And we're talking about security and how to make it the most secure platform. But what if all the stuff that I've told you today? I mean, I've been on this discussion for over an hour already. It kind of blows me away that a 45-minute presentation, I'm not even done yet. We've been doing this for an hour. I guess I like talking. We've been talking about this for over an hour now, and have I told you anything that's not largely common sense? Except for the architecture stuff that you just, may not have known. But as far as securing Hyper-V, anything not common sense that I threw out there today? Somebody give me an example of something that's not kind of intuitive that you would do anyway. No, not really. I mean, I've shared the architecture with you, and by understanding that architecture, you understand why it's so important to do these things that you should be doing anyway, right? So the host is not something you want to compromise on. That's really the only message that I've given you today. I've not told you anything hard or anything that you don't already know. Do you trust your virtual machines? Not. I see a lot of people shaking their heads. That means they've been paying attention. Okay. The easiest way for a virtual machine to attack the parent, other virtual machines, is over the network. Okay. So when we start talking about a network attack, you want to create separate virtual networks for different security levels. Okay. What's a different security level mean? Well, obviously, a firewall is going to be a different security level than a terminal server that's got clients logged into it, right? Those are two very different security levels. Everybody agrees with that.